This is the Believe in Texans podcast alongside former Houston Texans wide receiver, 6-year NFL veteran Cecil III. I am Patrick Creighton, host of Area 45 on Sports Radio 610, your flagship home for the Houston Texans. And Cecil, Houston Texans 2-0, going into a Week 3 matchup with another team that is 2-0 that maybe people did not think would be 2-0, and that would be the Minnesota Vikings. The Sam Darnold-led Minnesota Vikings. So this a little bit of a surprise, I think, to most people that the Vikings are 2-0. And this is not a 2-0, hey, we beat the New York Giants twice. They only beat the Giants once. They also beat the San Francisco 49ers, and that is not a small task on any week. And they held them to under 20 points as well. But there's a few interesting parts about this game with the Houston Texans and the Vikings as somebody is going home with their first L of the season. But this is a game where there are a couple of guys on each team who are former players for the other team. And none more prevalent than Stefon Diggs, who is making his first appearance in Minnesota since being traded by the Vikings to the Bills. So this has been, it's been like 5 years since he has played a game in Minnesota. And this will be his first game back. And he's going to be going against a defense that is probably going to be designed to really limit him and try to get him frustrated. Your thoughts on Stefon Diggs returning to Minnesota?
I didn't realize it was 5 years. Now, I know he's played against them in Buffalo, but for him not be, for his first time in 5 years to go back to Minnesota, that's a big deal. That's somewhere he was drafted. That's somewhere the miracle against the New Orleans Saints that year. I actually watched that clip yesterday. That still to this day is amazing, and Minnesota fans are, I'm assuming, extremely grateful for that moment. But he was a stud there. And when you're a rookie somewhere, you spend your first contract there, it's a really big deal. Especially, it holds a special place in your heart. So I'm assuming it's the same with Stefon Diggs. But revenge games are fun, man. Oh, revenge games are fun. I got a chance to play in one. Well, my first year with the Texans, I got to play in Jacksonville, and it was the funnest thing ever because the coach kind of designs things to get you going. They design plays for you. They give you opportunity to really show out. So I'm excited to see what Slowick, what CJ in store having company with Diggs and what he possibly can do versus the Vikings. I don't know. I don't know if I agree. I think you said they're gonna try to take him away. I guess they will, but with with Nico kind of ascending so high, I don't know if you can try to take Diggs away. I mean, you can try, but then that opens up everything else, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how they play Diggs. He's definitely somebody they need to watch, but that's going to be a fun one to watch.
Now, Stefon Diggs has, taken a lot of bad raps from various media and fans over the years.
Yeah.
Was asked about, hey, look, he was drafted by the Vikings 10 years ago. And they said this will be the first time in 5 years he's going to play in Minnesota. So he was asked about, what do you think about, coming back to Minnesota? And he said, they took a real chance on me. I'm forever thankful for that. Then he said, Minnesota nice was always a thing. He said, I had a hell of a time there. The people were amazing, and I kind of look forward to going back. He didn't set anybody on fire. He didn't launch into some kind of tirade. The Stefon Diggs that some people in Buffalo, some people want us to believe exists. I don't think that guy exists. I think he's a hell of a player. I think he's a hell of a competitor. Yeah. I think once upon a time in Minnesota, he wanted to get paid, and they chose to pay somebody else. And obviously that's going to upset any player. So he got a trade. And okay, that's not anything new to me. That's not position specific to me. Like, oh, only diva wide receivers get upset about their contract. I've seen plenty of defensive players do the exact same thing. So, we just watched this go down in Dallas with a wide receiver and a quarterback. We watched it go down. Like we see this go every year. There's cornerbacks. Hell, there's a former Texan cornerback who's not even in the league right now because he didn't like the contract offers that he was getting. So the idea that only diva wide receivers bitch about their contracts is a total fallacy.
No.
But your thoughts on, did you expect Stefan to be as complimentary of Minnesota as he was?
Yeah, I don't think number one, it was so long ago, right? And number two, kind of like I mentioned, that's the first place he's ever been in the NFL. He was what, a fourth round or a fifth round draft pick. And he really had to grind and earn his way and earn his right. So you got to respect for that particular place. And he's never been that guy to me in the media. Kind of like you mentioned, he's never been the guy that's gonna shout out things in the media and say different stuff. Now, when he plays Buffalo, when the Texans play Buffalo, there may be a little subliminal here and there. There may be, maybe not as complimentary because it was so fresh. But he's never been a guy came out in the media and said, "Hey, I can't stand this guy. I can't stand that guy. They should have paid me. They should have did this." He's never been that way. So I don't anticipate him doing anything like that. Not really a big surprise. Classy guy. And you know what, to add to your list, because you mentioned, like, Dallas had a receiver and a quarterback, talking about Dak and CD. Well, the situation with Hassan Reddick and when the New York Jets is, I mean, come on. I mean, come on. Like that's what a diva looks like, right? I don't want to dwell in that situation, but we try to, let's say we, the media, tries to make Stefan to be that type of guy, right? And he's not. He's just not. So I'm excited to see him play, man. It's gonna be fun.
Imagine trading for a player that wants a new contract, and then instead of giving him a new contract, you tell him, "Oh no, you're just gonna play," and then thinking that guy's gonna be like, "Oh well, sure, no problem. I mean, I'm just gonna give up everything that I've stood for the last 5 months. Nah, doesn't
Yeah.
matter. No, we're good. We good. Yeah." That's the kind of move that if your team doesn't have a really big season on the field, you get fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're setting
Yeah.
money on
For sure.
fire.
For sure. For sure. For sure. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happens in New York. Like if it doesn't go the year, if it doesn't, if the Jets don't win how they're supposed to win, and I don't even know if they're even supposed to do that. I'm still watching them and kind of debating, are they really that good? Will they be able to handle things? Can they take care? Can they get to the AFC title? I'm not sure, but that's the situation you need to watch, because like you said, that's going to be a dumpster fire if they don't make the playoffs or have big time success.
Now, beating up on an awful New England team does not make you a good team.
No. Mm-mm.
Although having strange interactions with your head coach on the field after touchdown drives, that's fun to watch.
It is fun to watch. It's fun to kind of guess and read into. Yeah, that's an interesting place right now, man. That's if I was a player or a coach, I would not want to be right there right now. Just I think that place can either go really good or extremely bad very fast.
They better hope they win because, man, Aaron Rodgers is a weird cat.
He's different. He's
He's a
different, ain't he?
weird dude.
He's just different. Like I don't. Yeah, he's just different. You got to be able to. You got to know how to handle him.
And I've asked former teammates of his, what is it like to play with Aaron Rodgers? And most of them are like, look, on Sunday, that dude comes to show up, and if he plays, we win. Like that was their attitude. Aaron shows up, we win. So they tolerated all the insanity that goes on outside of him because they believe that, hey, if Aaron Rodgers shows up, we're probably going to win.
Mm.
But when the winning stops, so does the tolerance. And we've seen this with players all, not just this league, every league.
Everywhere.
If you're eccentric, to use a PG word, you better win.
Yep.
Because you can't be that dude and then not be successful. Your teammate's gonna shove you out the door.
I hear it all the time. When you're off the field, quote unquote issues or situations kind of outplay your talent or come above your talent, then you're expendable, right? But as long as your talent's up there and the off the field is below it, people will accept it, right? But once it gets the same level or higher, man, it's hard.
Note to all you young guys out there: don't be the weirdo who's a walk-on. Now, another former Viking on this team, Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter had a huge season last year, and Danielle Hunter so far this year, sack and a half, couple of tackles for loss, even has a pass defended. Hasn't gotten off to a blazing hot start, but had a very strong game last week against Chicago. Danielle Hunter, who was in Minnesota his entire career until this year. Uh, is it different for a defensive guy who, obviously is not getting the ball, or, for a guy who's on the end like that? Is he looking to just, how many times can I terrorize the team's quarterback?
Oh yeah, like it's different in the sense of different sides of the ball, different schemes. But I'm sure the defensive coordinator, D'Amico, all those guys on the defensive side of the ball, they're setting things up for Daniil to have a great day. Daniil, if I'm not mistaken, third all time in franchise history for the Vikings in sacks. So how good would it feel, the place you've been your whole career, to go back and to murder whoever's back there? Like, how good would that feel? I'm third all time in sacks in franchise history, and I'm gonna add some more in the place that I helped build. Like, you mean how good would that feel for Daniil?
Sam Darnold, sorry about your dang luck. that is coming, right? I would expect Daniil be really pumped up for this game, and after a game which he had a sack and a half, looking for him to really make an impact. And look, Sam Darnold has had a pretty good season thus far. Right. So far this season, Sam Darnold has played pretty well, but he has also avoided major pressure. And the
Mm.
Texans are going to bring that pressure to Neil Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. And, last week we saw them blitz more than really D'Amico normally blitzes. D'Amico's not a
Right.
big blitzer. He's a fan of, hey, we get there with 4. But he was bringing a lot of pressure last week to, kind of rattle Caleb Williams, successful. And I'm interested to see if he will employ the same strategy this week with Sam Darnold, who is mobile, but not nearly as mobile as Caleb Williams. He's not a statue back there, but he's not as mobile, not as athletic as Caleb Williams. I wonder if they will continue to focus on bringing a lot of pressure to try to make Darnold make mistakes, because we've seen, he's been in the league for a while now, Sam Darnold has, and when you get pressure on him, he'll make some mistakes.
Yeah, I think and I know he's 8 for 8 right now against pressure, like 3 touchdowns, over 200 yards. He's like outstanding versus pressure. But one of the games, like you mentioned, and because you are a Giants fan, he played the Giants. Like, come on, no offense, but what makes I feel like what makes the defense, for example, Chicago game, the defense did so well because you had one-on-one matchups with your ends. You had one-on-one matchups with your defensive tackles. You had one-on-one matchups with a linebacker and the offensive lineman. So when you create that, your defense is so darn good with one-on-one matchups. It's cool. You're going to get natural pressure on Sam Darnold. That also, you can trust your secondary. Like, you can trust those guys back there. So when you bring pressure, it's going to put I guess more pressure on the secondary, but you got to trust them to be in the right spot, make the right plays, and then you'll be fine. But I think when you bring pressure, you're going to affect him because of how good your front seven is. Those guys are going to get to the quarterback. Those guys started getting rhythm last week, 7 sacks against the Bears. But when you can attack that offensive line and continue to attack Sam Darnold, it's only a matter of time before he gives you one, in my opinion. He threw a pick against the Giants. He threw a pick last week in their winning against San Francisco. He's going to give you opportunity. Bringing pressure will help you bring another opportunity for turnover.
And Darnold is a guy who tends to hold on to the ball a little bit longer when getting through
Mm.
his reads, trying to find, the best option down the field. He's not going to have a whole lot of time necessarily to hold on to the ball if the Texans are bringing pressure. So that part of the game is very interesting to me, because the Texans did something a little outside of their defensive character last week with the way they brought as much pressure as they did outside, with the blitzing. And I'm wondering if they will mix some of that in this week as well, considering how effective it was a week ago. Two guys, former Texans, now on the Vikings. Blake Cashman, John Grenard. Blake Cashman, so far, having a pretty good season. He's already got 19 tackles. He's got a sack. He's got a TFL. He's got 3 passes defended. I think the talent with Blake Cashman isn't necessarily in question. I think the durability with Blake Cashman is absolutely in question, because up
Yeah,
until last year, that's a guy who'd never been healthy.
yeah.
And listen, I'm not rooting against him, right? I mean, I have no reason to root against him. I hope that Blake Cashman is very successful. I hope he loses this week, but I hope he's very successful, and I hope he makes as much money as possible. But if you are like from a Texans management point of view, if you're trying to decide where I'm going to hand out large contracts to, the guy
Yes.
who's always hurt is not the guy I'm handing out the large contract to.
Agreed.
I think part of that also plays into John Grenard. John Grenard has spent a lot of time uh, down, injured, beat up, missing games, IR, and Grenard off to maybe a little bit of a slow start. He's got 2 tackles. He does have 1 sack, but he's got 2 tackles this year, and obviously you would expect more from John Grenard after the season he had a year ago. But there is also a question of, is that season an outlier? It
Mm.
was clearly the best season he'd ever had in his career. And again, does he have the talent to
For sure.
to play that way? Absolutely, he has the
For
talent to
sure.
play that way. But can you replicate it? Can you do it consistently? And again, when you're handing out large contracts to guys with guaranteed money, hey, I've got a guy who's been doing it for 10 years in the league and stays healthy and has been one of the best at it in the game. And I got a guy who had a really great year last year, but he's beat up a lot. He's even beat up last year. And I'm not sure he can replicate it. I understand why they make that decision and why they chose Danielle Hunter over John Grenard. But 2 guys on the Vikings defense, which you think might be a little amped up to play in this game, looking to, hey, show their former team, hey man, you guys should have paid me. And look, Brian Flores' defense so far has been very good. And they caused a lot of problems with the San Francisco 49ers with the way that they disguise their coverage, the way they've got a lot of motion going on defense. They've shown a lot of multiple looks.
Yeah.
And look, it caused problems because Brock Purdy was not able to consistently make the right pre-snap read and making the reads in play. Look, that's a lot tougher, especially if pressure's coming. And it really kind of stymied San Francisco's offense. I do believe that CJ is one of the absolute best in the league when it comes to making progressions and reading defenses in real time during the play. I think he's one of the best in the league at it. And I'm interested to see how it impacts the Texans offense or how CJ attacks that defense with the way they're going to give those different looks.
It's going to be interesting because, like you mentioned, their secondary does a good job disguising coverages. And you have veterans back there. You have Harrison Smith, safety's been in the league a long time, possibly on a Hall of Fame type career. He's having an exceptional career. Then you brought in this free agency. You brought in Stephon Gilmore late in the year during training camp. And he was a 2019 Defensive Player of the Year at cornerback. Played for the Colts a little bit last year. They got Byron Murphy Jr. over there. They got some playmakers in that back end. So it's going to be important that, like you mentioned, who CJ is one of the best at, really going through his progression post snap, right? Pre snap, they're going to throw a ton of different looks at you. It might start in a 2 high shell and they go to a 1. It might be off, then it's really man. It might be press and they're bailing. You don't know what's going to happen. So the post snap, when the ball is snapped, he has to do a really good job of going through his progression and understanding what's happening, right? There's always tendencies when it comes to safeties. Safeties can only move around so much. A quarterback can press and be in cover 4, right? He can play off and be in man coverage. But your safeties are only going to move around so much from each hash. So it's going to be critical that he understands what the safeties do, what their tendencies are, and where they're aligned. If they're aligned closer to the hash, maybe one guy's coming down, right? If they're away from the hash, maybe they're trying to get to different spots on the outside. So you got to be aware of that if you're CJ, which he will be. It's going to be interesting how they attack it, right? Because Flores does a great job getting that front 7 going on, getting pressure from his guys. But it's gonna be really good to see CJ go through his progression. It's gonna be a tough test, in my opinion. But also, I agree with you on this. I think if you look at the history of guys getting or doing well during their contract year, you have to read the whole resume. You can't just read that 1 year. And we have firsthand looks at Cashman and Daniil, like you said, both talented guys. But in their contract years, they were better and more healthy than the previous years, which makes it hard for if you're a GM to be like, hey, I'm gonna give you a boatload of money when you haven't been that consistent through your 3 or 4 years here. Where Daniil Hunter, extremely consistent. Aziz Al-Shir, extremely consistent, right? Over time, over years, I mean, plus 80, almost 100 snacks, getting close to 100 sacks for Daniil Hunter, which is exciting. He probably hit that here, hopefully this year or next year. But this is an exciting time, man. It's going to be a great game coming up, but it's going to be critical that CJ really, really, really post snap makes the correct read.
Yeah, and look, I do think that because of the amount of disguise that they do and how good they are at it, that A, CJ making the right read is important. B, the Texans' offensive line needs to be better in pass coverage and picking up their assignments, particularly when you get into these stunts where guys are coming off of their regular position and they're coming around inside. We saw last week Jared Patterson struggled when there was some different stunts up front. The first week the Texans struggled with stunts up front and the motion. So this week you're expecting Juice Scruggs to play. So Juice Scruggs coming back to center. You're expecting your normal front five to be playing today. Well, to be playing on Sunday. I'm ready for the game, man. Let's go. Let's just play right
Let's
now. Let's
go.
play right freaking now. The hell with the weekend. Let's go. But the idea of, hey, this is your normal starting offensive line, and can they give CJ that extra protection that he hasn't had so that he can get through those reads? The Texans have given up a lot of pressure up the middle, particularly in between the center and the right guard. On plays where the center has not made the right read or the center has gone the wrong way or missed his assignment. So, this is an important game where Juice Scruggs, last year, with all the turmoil and all the turnover they had on the offensive line, the first 2 games of the year, they gave a ton of sacks. And the third game of the year, it started to click. They've given up a lot of sacks the first 2 weeks of the year. Can it finally start to click for them here in the third game? I think this is a very important week where if the Texans offensive line can get back to pass blocking at the kind of level they had for most of last year, this will become a very different game.
It's going to be interesting because I'm not sure the update with Joe Mixon and Dameon Pierce. Will they play this week? I think it's not good. So now you got Cam Akers possibly starting, right?
Cam Akers is probably going to start. Dare will stay in his usual third down role.
Right.
And right now, it would line up British Brooks to kind of be the backup running back, which I'm not necessarily opposed to because I thought he played very well in the preseason. And I like the kind of bruising style that he plays where, he's faster than people think, but he's extremely physical. And I think that fits in with what the Texans want to do.
It does. It just worries me a little bit. If you're not pass protecting well, and possibly this week because you don't have Joe Mixon, Dameon Pierce. Not that you don't trust Cam Akers, because Cam Akers came in last week and did some good things. But can he carry the ball 18 to 20 times? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So I think this week you're leaning on CJ a lot more, possibly in the last 2 weeks, right? So maybe you may see a game where it's 40 passing attempts. Week 1 you had to rely on the run game, right? Week 2 we had to rely on the defense. Week 3 maybe it's the where you see the receivers and Dalton Schultz and Cade Stover really step up in the play and make plays in the passing game, and maybe you're passing a little bit more because of the injuries to your running back. So that pass protection is going to be critical. From up the middle, from the sides, from Cam Akers, Dare, British Brooks helping in protection to keep 7 upright so he can make the right read post snap and make some plays down the field.
I think if they find themselves in a situation where they are struggling to run the football, then I think you've got to start incorporating the running backs more into the passing game.
Yes.
One of the things that I guess you'd call it, I wouldn't call it necessarily the Rich Gannon offense, but Rich Gannon, particularly when he was in Oakland, they used to throw the ball all the time. They used short passes to running backs almost as running plays. Charlie Garner would have all these catches because they just do all these little dump offs, just get right behind the line, in between the line and the linebacker as you're pushing the linebackers back by having your wide receivers run, deeper intermediate routes and pulling them back. You get in between the line and the linebacker for that little dump off of the running back. And that was 4 or 5 yards every time they would do that, but you have a chance for more because, hey, Charlie Garner can make a guy miss.
Yeah.
If you can incorporate a Dare or a Cam Akers into that type of route, hey, we're just going to get you the ball out here with a little bit of room, and if you
Yeah.
make a guy miss, you probably pick up 10 yards.
Yeah.
So I think that's a different option for them if they're struggling in the run game. And they're not getting the kind of production that they're looking for. That might be an alternative way to get production they're almost like runs, right? They're little short passes. They're almost like runs, and you use them as runs to try to, draw the linebackers in. And then as you draw the linebackers in, you open up more of that intermediate to deep route where you're creating more space between the linebacker who comes in and the deep safeties. And then you've opened up that intermediate range for guys like Nico Collins who like to go across the middle, for guys like Tank Dell who can run a double move and get out. So I think those are different ways for them to pick up to increase their production if the running game stalls out, because it with Joe Mixon and with Dameon Pierce both not practicing Wednesday or yesterday, it would be very unlikely that either of them would be ready to go for Sunday. And look, D'Amico's kind of old school. No practice, no game, right? He's not. If you haven't practiced, then he doesn't think you're ready to go. I don't disagree with that. Like, if you're not able to practice all week long, unless you're telling me this is a playoff game and CJ Stroud couldn't practice, but I know I need him on Sunday, that I'm going to baby him all week long, have him in the training room, getting treatment the whole week long to try to get him ready, then if you can't practice, you're probably not really ready to go.
No, I would agree with that, unless it's a gotta have it situation, like you mentioned, playoffs or a game to get to the playoffs, or the case may be. I think you lean on, okay, if it's not that serious, but he can't give me 80-90%. Let's sit out a week and you be ready to go for the following week, right? Just thinking ahead because it's still early in the season. But I'm with you. I think Cam Akers can do that in the passing game. I think too, to break in tendency too, I think it would be good to maybe do that on the first down, right? I think last week many times went off on ESPN saying, "Oh, Bobby Slowick is messing up and running too much on first down." Well, you want to be consistent in the running game, right? I don't have a problem with him running on first down. You want to get positive yards, right? So I have no problem with him maybe possibly mixing it up on first down, finding a screen pass to him, maybe finding a way to get Tank going early, whether it's quick game to him or quick game to Cam Akers or quick game to Nico and Stefan, whatever you want to do, will be good to break that tendency. But Cam will be um, a really good pass catcher out the backfield this week. That might be a big play for him.
I tell you, as seeing Mina Kimes with her, the constant running on first down, she was reading my mind from Sunday night, because it's not just, hey, we're going to run on first down. It's, we're going to run on first down. 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 and the same damn running play. Like, can we try to mix it up with some different looks? And this is the reason why this is an issue, is because last year the Texans lost a couple of games they had no business losing, because the offensive game plan was, we're going to force run the football when they couldn't run the football. They lost a game to the Carolina Panthers last year they had no business losing, because as a team, they made the decision, well, Carolina's not good against the run. We're going to run the football no matter what. They took the ball out of CJ Stroud's hands. They force-fed the running game. They went nowhere. They knew they were going nowhere. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter. They continued to run the same stupid running plays over and over and fail over and over when you have the offensive rookie of the year as your quarterback. And no. You can't throw the football because we've got to run. They stink against the run. You stink running it. And that's pretty much what happened. Why did they lose to Atlanta? Same damn reason. So we want Bobby to have, enlightened himself enough to realize, oh, I have CJ Stroud. I do not have to do things that are not successful just for the purpose of doing them. If they're not having success in the running game, then the ball needs to go in CJ Stroud's hands. Like I said, you can utilize short passes to try to pull the defense up so that you can open up deeper passes. But man, if they go 6 first downs or 5 runs, I'm gonna throw something on my TV.
Don't do that.
And I'm not gonna lie. I really can't afford to go buy a new TV right now. So, Bobby, don't put me in a
Oh,
bad position, Bobby.
oh,
Don't put me in a bad position because if I break the big TV, everybody in this household, I'm going to be persona non grata.
oh, you're gonna be in trouble.
I'm going
Oh,
to be
you can
on
be in big trouble.
dish
You're gonna be in.
duty. I'm
Oh
going to
yeah.
be on Windows
Oh
duty.
yeah.
I'm going to be on vacuum laundry duty. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's going to be bad. It's going to
Yeah.
be
You're
bad.
gonna be.
Don't do that to me, Bobby. Don't do that to me.
I think Bobby be okay. I love what he's doing. He is predict. I'll give it to you. He is predictable. Many times was correct. I don't. My thing is I don't have a problem with running on first down because you want to get positive yards. My problem is the false starts. My problem is the penalties. My problem is we're hurting ourselves. Now it's 1st and 15. There's not many play calls 1st and 15. Now it's 2nd and 15 or 2nd and 12 or 3rd and 30, 3rd and 13. Like you're killing yourself with the penalties, right? So as long as you're getting positive yards, and I don't want the same running play, but as long as you're getting positive yards on first down, I don't care what you call, but you have to get positive yards. You can't kill yourself and shoot yourself in the foot over and over and over again, whether you're home or away. We got to do better with that.
It's funny. I was watching a video on the Vince Papale game,
Mhm.
Giants and the Eagles, and they're showing the highlights of the Giants have they hit a big passing play down the line. Craig Morton hits a big pass down the line. It's 1st and 10 from the Eagles 35. 2 plays later, it was 3rd and 55. between losing yards and penalties, the
Yep.
Giants were facing a 3rd down and 55. Have you ever seen 3rd and 55?
I have not, but I know this for sure. There is no play call for 3rd and 55. There is no play call in the history of play sheets and scripts that an offensive coordinator has for 3rd and 55. It's just
That's,
what do you do?
take a 10-yard drop and then just chuck it as deep down the field as you
A Hail
can. And
Mary.
if you catch it, great. If you don't catch it, it's kind of like a punt. Like
Yeah.
let them catch it. Don't knock it down. No, catch it. Catch the ball. But yeah, there's some crazy stuff. Earlier this week, Mike Fleur of Pro Football Talk was lamenting the fact that defenses play cover two, as if this has never happened before in the history of football. Lamenting the two high safeties and how this should be banned because teams are taking away the deep pass and people want to see the deep pass.
Oh, this is Mike.
Mike
This
Florio.
Kuiper.
No, this is Mike Florio.
Oh,
Was
Mike
it
Florio.
Mel? No, was it Mel
It was
Kiper?
Mel
Okay, it was Mel
Kiper.
Kiper.
It
Yeah,
was Mel Kiper. Yeah,
excuse me.
Mel
It was Mel
Kiper.
Kiper, who
Yeah.
apparently was looking at some spreadsheets and said, "Oh, look, we don't have a lot of deep passing. Let's just ban cover two." How many times in your career did you face the too high safety look?
Too high safety look is a part of the game. Like if you don't like the too high safety look, run the football. Run the football. Have
Wait.
success
Can you
running the football.
can you do it like Can you say that like Richard Sherman?
I don't know how you say that.
Run the ball.
Oh, Super Bowl. Yes, yes,
Run the
yes, yes. Like
ball.
it's not hard. If they're gonna have two guys back and play deep and take away the deep stuff, okay, great. Let's run the football. Have success running the football. Get a better running game. And then they'll get out of too high. They got to bring somebody else down to help out with the running game. It's that simple. But defense, like offenses are evolving all the time. The same thing with defense. They're evolving too. They're trying to figure out ways. Put it this way: the NFL is made for offense, as we know. It's made for the quarterback. It's made for offense. It's made for the receivers to score tons of points. So why wouldn't you play too deep? Why wouldn't you put guys back there? It only makes sense. It only makes sense. You're setting the game, and we can't even touch the quarterback no more. If we touch the if we happen to sack him and fall on him, guess what? It's a penalty. If we come up there and we smell his armpit, oh, guess what? It's a penalty. Like we can't do nothing. You can't do nothing on defense. So of course they got to take away the big play. You're paying these guys 100 and what CD get 135 million and Justin Jefferson all this money. They're throwing the ball deep. All these quarterbacks are taking up boom boom. So you have to play two high. Mel Kiper, that was ridiculous. Oh yeah, play man coverage and make it one high. This is not fantasy football. This is not Madden. This is not electric football. As he probably played when I, my dad told me about electric football a long time ago. That was a lot of fun actually. But
It's
like,
almost
come
like,
on,
hey,
man.
can we play 7-on-7? Let's
Yeah,
go seven
like
on
that's what
seven.
it is. That's what. Look, let's go play flag football. Go play flag. Golly, man, it's
Next
just crazy.
we'll get the Arena League rules where the wide receiver can get a 10-yard running start for the ball.
Oh. You mentioned Mike Florio. He was complaining, saying that C.J. Stroud was wrong for talking to Caleb Williams like that.
So
What he
he's
was
that
complaining.
idiot. Okay, he's that
Yes,
idiot.
that's what he was complaining about. In
We're-
my opinion, I think it was bad timing by CJ, but I don't think he did anything wrong. I just think Caleb was in his feelings because he was running for his life all game and he lost.
so let me get this straight.
Like,
Guy
come
who
on.
was most recent offensive rookie of the year, and is known to have been a guy who is a leader on and off the field
Yeah,
pretty much his whole life,
yeah.
tells other quarterback who's played 2 whole games in his NFL career,
Two.
hey, hold your head up. I was 0-2 once too.
Yeah.
And, look, Caleb, and look, I'm well on record with my concerns about his immaturity. Certainly looked like he didn't really care what was being said, but he also just got his ass kicked for, an entire football game. So for 3
He was
hours,
running for his life.
3 hours, he's been having, 280-pound dudes blast him and belly whop on him. He's probably a little tired.
Yes.
But like, I don't have an issue with what's, and why should anybody have an issue with one person giving encouragement to another person? You're only allowed
Come
to
on.
encourage other people if you're 10 years older than they are. Is that because
Yep.
I feel like a lot of these young guys, if you're 10 years older than they are, they're like, has been. Don't be talking to me. Yeah,
Well, yeah, I
exactly.
thought like
Don't be talking to me,
it.
boomer. So when the guys who are your contemporaries, the guys who are, basically in your age group, maybe have a little bit more experience than you do, say, look, man, you're going to be a great player. I believe in you. Your teammates should too. And it's not the players who have a
No, it's
problem with this. No, it's the crotchety old media dudes who have a problem with this. Guys who are in 0 locker rooms.
yeah.
Guys who are, in their little studio that they never leave. And they're the ones who have a problem with it. Okay. Thanks, Boomer. Get to stepping.
Guys are afraid of change, man. It's a different landscape. Younger guys are coming in. CJ is an anomaly, right? He played well early on. If I'm a quarterback, a rookie quarterback, and he's talking to me, I want any information you have. Matter of fact, if I just got sacked 7 times, if I just got pounced on like I was prey and Daniil Hunter just jumps on me like he's a freaking lion, if I'm running for my life and my receivers are hurt and I can't find a connection with this terrible game of offense, I want some type of encouragement. So for another offensive rookie of the year previously, number 2 overall pick, kind of in my same situation. We sat in the Heisman room together a couple years ago. I know how good he is. I know the expectation is he's playing well. I need some type of encouragement from him. So if he can encourage me, I'm gonna soak it in because that can give me something out of the game I feel good about. Because me missing DJ Moore down the sideline is not gonna make me feel good.
And
Me missing block or missing the assignment is not gonna make me feel good. So for him saying something to me, I think that's a big deal. If I was him, I would listen and take it in.
especially after DJ Moore pretty much showed you up, acting like a baby, pulling my hand off, storming off the field because,
Yeah.
if my quarterback's not constantly getting his ass kicked, maybe that throw's more accurate. Maybe he didn't throw 3 picks too that counted. Maybe he didn't throw 3 picks because that holding call on Henry To'oTo'o was complete horse bleep.
Oh, it's terrible. Oh
But
my gosh, it was terrible.
you know,
Oh,
your quarterback's getting the hell kicked out of him. Give him a little help. Give him a little help. Man, you never saw that happen to CJ last year. You never saw receivers showing him up. You never saw teammates showing him up, acting like a fool, if he missed a pass or whatnot. You saw that very much Sunday night with Caleb Williams. And that's one of those things where if you're the head coach, you better cut that out right now. You better nip that in the bud right now because you get to week 4, week 5, you're probably not cutting it out.
yeah, that's real. That's
So
real.
Cecil, let's talk about this here. Since you were, well, once upon a time, a 6-year NFL veteran playing wide receiver, including for the Houston Texans. Which of the Texans receivers do you think will have their most impactful game? So far, it has been the Nico Collins show, right? He has 14 catches, 252 yards, leads the NFL in yardage. Nobody else on the team has 100 yards receiving total. Stephon Diggs has 70 yards. Tank Dell only got 37 yards. Joe Mixon has 44. Then you got Dalton Schultz, Dare, Cade Stover's got an 18-yard catch. who is your – does this continue to be the Nico Collins show to you this week, or do you think a different receiver is going to be the impact guy this week?
Nico's clearly number one, and I think he's gaining the respect league wide that he's a special talent, right? So I expect all the disguises that Minnesota's going to do, the focus will be on Nico. Hey, we have to slow down Nico. He's leading the league in receiving right now. If you watch the Indianapolis game, he went down the field early on, had a big catch. He's a tough guy. Like, we have to focus on him. Well, everybody's probably thinking, oh, Stephon, they're going to scheme up different plays for him, and Stephon will play well. My money is on Tank Dell, and I'm going to tell you why. Him last week in the Sunday night, he struggled. He probably should have had at least one touchdown. The big play, second half over the middle of the field, like maybe a post route. He lost the ball, hit him in the face mask. He's like, oh, frustrated. I think he ended up with -3 yards receiving, right? First game against the Colts, he got some targets, he got some runs, he got some carries. He was involved a little more. Last week, I think it was around 7 or 8 touches, but he just didn't do nothing with it. And a few of them were drops on him. No, nobody else. It was one on the sideline he drops that he should have caught, and then one in the middle of the field he probably should have scored on. So I think the focus on a big player is going to step up this week in the receiving room will be Tank Dell. Nathaniel Tank Dell. I think he's going to be outstanding this week. Why? Because it's going to be a rebound week. One thing that good offensive coordinators do is when a receiver or a guy had a down week and not themselves, especially young guys, not what they didn't live up to their potential the week before, they find ways to get them going, right? They find different avenues, different ways to give them a touch the ball, have some success. And one thing about that type of player, he's going to be lasered in and locked in because he doesn't want to play like that again. Right, so he's going to be lasered, locked in. I anticipate him getting touches early on. If it's a screen, a reverse, maybe a short hitch, a slant, I think he will be an impact player big time this week. And he's number 3 receiver. So your focus is on Nico, which would be double covered. If the focus is on somebody else, guess what? Now he's one-on-one with your third cornerback. So I think he's going to have a huge game this Sunday, kind of break out for the 2024 season, and really, really make an impact on this Viking game.
Now, you talked about this after the game. This was on Monday's podcast. Tank, dropped a pass on a sideline, dropped a pass over the middle that he's gone if he catches it.
Oh, touchdown.
And he was upset about his performance. And people have been talking all week, how do the Texans get Tank Dell going? How do the Texans get Tank Dell going? Well, the first thing they got to do is they got to get Tank to be focused in. And after the game he had last week, I don't think that'll be hard.
Yep.
I would expect a guy who prides himself on his preparation the way that Tank Dell does. He is going to be laser focused this week. And yeah, you know what? I do think he's going to have some impact plays on this game on Sunday. I think he's going to have some impact plays. I do think Stephon Diggs is going to have some impact plays. Now, they might not be those big yardage ones, but when the Texans need to move the sticks, they're going to find Stephon Diggs. Yeah. When the Texans get into the red zone, they're going to find Stephon Diggs. You can't cover Diggs one-on-one. And when you get down into the red zone, you're going to have, especially when you're inside the 5, you're going to have some of that one-on-one coverage because you're gearing up for the run game. And you don't want teams to just plow it right up the middle on you, which if you're double covering a receiver inside the 10-yard line, you're going to get run on. You're going to get run on every time. So when they get into those one-on-one situations inside the 10-yard line, they are going to look for Stephon Diggs. So I think Diggs will have an impact. I think he'll have a touchdown. I think he might have 2 touchdowns. I think Tank is going to have at least one game-breaking type play where he gets off 40-plus yards on a play and forces them to make changes in the way that they are defending, because they're going to recognize, all right, we can't do this with Tank Dell. He's going to beat us deep. Yeah. So I think that this is kind of the game where it's time for them to put the ball in CJ's hands, for him to start getting it around to the receivers, and we see Diggs and we see Tank make impacts in this game. Because like you said, Nico has been the number 1 receiver yardage-wise in the league. Their number 1 priority is going to be, we got to stop Nico Collins.
Yeah, for sure.
He is a very physical receiver, and I'm hesitant to make comparisons like this because I don't like
Go ahead and
comparing
do it.
guys to
Go
all-time
ahead and do
greats.
it.
So you know
I
I'm
know
going
where
to
you're
do it.
going. I know where you're going.
But at 6'4" and 220 pounds, being
Yeah.
as physical as he is, and being the guy who is willing to go over the middle and
Yeah.
throwing defenders down, I feel like I'm watching T.O. on my team. Because that man, I remember early in T.O.'s career, when he was still playing with Jerry Rice, teams would try to blow him up. They'd try to rock him as hard as they could because they felt they could rattle him, and then he'd lose focus and he'd put the ball on the ground. And very early in his career, that might have been true. By his 4th year in the league, he was knocking other guys down. And he was the guy, you need that first down marker. I got to run through 3 guys. He ran through 3 guys. Go over the middle. He went over the middle. He ran every single route, came down with every ball. If Donovan McNabb wasn't puking on the field, he's Super Bowl MVP playing on a busted ankle. T.O. was outside of Jerry Rice, he's the greatest receiver I ever watched. And I'm not trying to slam Randy Moss. Randy Moss was a go route guy.
Yes,
Randy Moss ran straight down the field, could outjump everybody. You just threw it up there and he got it. Randy Moss didn't run over the middle. I'm not doing that. T.O. ran every route. Nico Collins runs every route. And he's big and he's physical. And the defensive guy, man, you hit Nico, you get the worst end of that. Yeah, there's a defender from last week's game who got thrown to the ground like it was WWE. Nico got in there, get off me, and threw him down to the ground.
Yeah.
He's a bad dude. He's a bad dude. People don't realize it because he doesn't run his mouth. He's not, drawing attention to himself in non-football manners. He doesn't have that personality. But, man, on the field, Nico Collins is a monster.
He's a dog.
And they're going to have to, when you talk about playing 2 high safeties, they're going to be looking at Nico Collins.
They will. They will for sure.
That means Tank Dell, you're on a clock.
I tell you what, too, about Tank. I think a good way to get him going is to give him some punt return reps. Steven Sims is doing awesome. He's doing awesome. Like nothing against Steven. He's doing good. But you want to get Tank going, get the ball in his hand a little bit. Get him catch the ball back there and how explosive and quick and fast he is. He make one guy miss and get a 10-yard gain, that gets his juices going, right? That's just something to get him going, get him feeling good about himself, and then insert him in the offense, right? Not taking Steven Sims out for the entire game, but maybe 1 or 2 punt returns to get his flow going. That can be a game changer for the Texans as a whole because he can take anything to the house. But for him and his psyche and get him going, okay, I got the ball in my hands. I can make a guy miss. The more times he can touch the ball, the more creative you can be, the more success Tank can be. Or Tank can have.
Cecil, I'm not going to lie. I have some irrational fears when it comes to football. And punt returns is one of them. I still bear the scars of Jason Sehorn's career being changed by a punt return in the preseason, no less. I'm very leery of putting a guy that I consider to be someone who is a really big part of my offense on a punt return. Now, kick return, different, especially the way kick returns run now. I'd put Tank back there on a kick return because, very, very different. But a punt return, if there's a blown assignment and somebody's gunning down the field, I'm leery about that. I don't disagree with you. I think if he can make a guy miss and then, break out a 15, 20-yard return, I'm nervous about injuries on punt returns.
Pat, Deshaun Jackson.
No, we don't talk about him. We don't talk about him.
That's all I'm saying.
We do not talk about plays where Deshaun Jackson drops the punt return, like drops it, picks it up, and still scores a touchdown against the dang Giants. No, we do not talk about Deshaun Jackson.
All I'm saying is, situationally,
he who shall not be named.
All I'm saying is, it's good to help get him going. I think that would be good. But I had to tease you a little bit.
Man. Not even excuse me, this dagger in the heart. I think this belongs to you.
Oh man.
Man, I tell you, it's hard to be a Giants fan. It's hard to be a Giants fan because literally since the day Ernie Accorsi handed the keys to Jerry Reese, the Giants still won 2 Super Bowls to teams that Ernie Accorsi assembled. But after that second Super Bowl, you saw the incompetence of the Giants from an ownership and a front office capacity. This team got old. Team got old very fast, and they've pretty much been a lousy football team ever since. I think they've had like 2 winning seasons. They've been a lousy football team. You know what they are right now? They're a lousy football team. They're a lousy football team. You know what they're going to be next year? They're going to be lousy. I'm telling you, growing up in New York, right, as a fan of the Islanders, the Giants, the Mets, and the Knicks. Okay, the Islanders, I got to see them win 4 straight championships. I was little. I got to see them win 4 straight championships. I got to see them go to 5 straight Stanley Cup finals. But that ended after 1984. Don't tell me that you weren't born in 1984. Just don't even say it. I don't want to hear it. All right, the Mets, when the Mets won in 86, I wasn't allowed to stay up to watch the games.
Okay.
All right, I used to work for my grandfather in his upholstery shop, and I had found this old beer bottle design transistor radio. Didn't work. So I went and got a soldering kit, and I played around with it until I got it to work again.
Okay.
I would stash that thing under my pillow
okay.
and listen to the games because my bedtime when I was a kid, and in 1986, I was 13, was 8:30. My parents were very strict about bedtime, the 8:30.
Yep.
And, I got my kid brother in the bunk up, and I can't, because he's a light sleeper. If I say anything, he'll rat me out. He's 10 years younger than me. So I'm trying to listen to the game, thing in my pillow, bite my lip, not trying to make a word. Every time something good or bad happened, like, can't make a sound because I don't want to get busted. Yeah, so I didn't get to enjoy that the way that I would have liked to have. The Giants were my solace, right? Because they actually won. Right, they win the Super Bowl in 86 and 90. They win a Super Bowl again, 2007. Then again 4 years later. Like the Giants were the team that actually won, but now they stink, and they've stunk for a decade.
Yep,
dude, it's hard. It's hard being a fan of New York. Man, I even disowned the Knicks. I disowned the Knicks. Because their owner is a jackass. I hate the owner. Jim Dolan is the worst person in the world. I will not watch the Knicks. I will not support the Knicks. I will not do anything. I watch the players. I still root for players. But I will not follow the Knicks. I will not watch the games. I will not buy any Knicks merchandise or subscribe to their stations until James Dolan is gone. When Dolan is gone, Voldemort is out the building, then I can watch the Knicks again. But you know what? This is why I have the Texans.
There you go.
This is why I have the Rockets.
There you go.
This is why I have the Astros.
There you go.
They
can help repair your heart back.
I'm trying to heal. Trying to heal, man. 50 years of battle scars, man. I'm trying to heal. Sports pain is real.
A lot of trauma.
It's real. It'll hurt. Those scars never go away. They're like bad relationships, right? When you are in love with a bad sports team, it's like being in a bad relationship. It's all one way. You always wind up crying. You always hurt. You always feel alone, and it never changes. Bad sports teams are like bad girlfriends. Don't. It's hard. It's hard. I got scars. That's why I am so excited about this Houston Texans team, because this team is going to make some of those scars go away. This team is going to put the joy in my heart where pain once was. It's going to heal my sports fandom. And I can't tell you how important that is. When I first got into the workforce as an actual adult, we used to have a sign, guy I worked for, George Garofalo, God bless him. had this list of things to be successful, hanging up in his office. Number 1, marry the right woman.
Mm.
Number 2 should be follow the right sports team. Because
is that high? Is
it's
that
just
high? Huh?
the same thing. It is the same thing. You give the only thing as a man that you're going to give more emotion to, more heart to than your wife and children is your sports teams. It's the only thing. Pick the right teams. Do
There you
not be
go.
beholden to
Life
teams
lesson.
that run like idiots.
A
If
patism.
the owner's an idiot, if the GM's an idiot, you ain't got to love them.
There you go.
Right? Wait till they get smarter. Make them earn it.
Hold out.
You know what? There's a lot of Texans fans. There's a lot of Texans fans whose hearts were highly scarred.
Yeah.
2020, 2021,
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah.
They started to heal last year. This year they could heal a lot.
Yeah.
All right, your prediction Sunday. Texans, Vikings.
I think the Texans stay undefeated. I think it's a 27-17 type of game. Love what Fairbairn's doing. Mr. Consistent, automatic. I think he'll be huge in this game. I think it will be tougher on the offensive line and having that run game. And then having that front seven that front seven coming and then that back end. I think it'll be a tough game for the offense as a whole. But I think the defense holds it down again and they come through 27-17 with a big game from Tank Dell.
I feel like I'm selling them short now. I'm not giving them enough offense. And I feel like I'm a bad person right now.
No, go with your heart.
Go
with your heart.
I got the Texans 23-20 in a really hard fought game with Kaimi Fairbairn.
Mm-hmm.
Kaimi Fairbairn banging it through.
Yeah.
As time expires.
Yep.
Texans walking off the field with a victory, going to 3-0. And if we can just take a little bit of a peek on this, right? Texans going to 3-0. The Titans welcome in the Green Bay Packers, where Malik Willis, former Titans quarterback, against Will Levis, current Titans quarterback. Malik Willis played his best game as a professional last week.
Yeah.
Will Levis, I don't know how. So if he doesn't throw 2 picks, is it his best game as professional? Is that the standard we're holding him to?
Could be.
But Titans maybe get a win. That's like a toss-up game, right? That's a toss-up game.
No, Packers should win that one.
Packers should win that one. The Colts host the Bears, and that's another one. I feel like it's kind of a toss-up game. Yeah, because the Bears defense is going to cause problems for Anthony Richardson.
For sure.
And I think the Colts will give enough trouble for Caleb Williams. So I think it's a toss-up game.
Okay.
And then
Monday night.
Let's see.
Monday night.
Jaguars in Buffalo.
Monday night.
The Jags are 0-2, and they have looked like trash against the Bills team that last week didn't even have to show up because the Dolphins gave them the ball 3 times in the first half. Here you go, score time. Go right ahead. Yes, please. So, the Bills didn't even have to show up last week. They were gifted a victory. There is I want to say 30% chance that the rest of the AFC South could legitimately be 0-3.
It's a shot. The only way I say maybe the Colts win with the Bears, right? Depending on which, if the Bears offense could get going, but the Colts defense is tough. So I would kind of give the nod to the Colts, but I don't know, man. Jacksonville's offenses look piss poor.
You're being generous.
No, I am. And then Will Levis with Tennessee just has not figured it out yet. I mean, when the offensive coordinator comes out and is frustrated and cussing you out on the field, what the blank are you doing? Like that says a lot of how frustrated he is only in week 2 going into week 3, right? So there's a good chance that you're really separating yourself if you're the Texans, which would be outstanding.
Would you believe the Texans are favored on the road in Minnesota by 2?
Yeah, I can see that.
2-point favorite.
I can see that.
2-point
Tough,
favorite
tough, tough place to play.
in Minnesota. So Cecil has them winning 27-17. I have them winning 23-20, but we both have the Texans going to 3-0. We will be back on Monday following the game. Texans and Vikings with your Week 3 recap right here on the Believe in Texans podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Believe in Texans podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Until then, he is former Houston Texans wide receiver, 6-year NFL veteran, Cecil Shorts III. I'm Patrick Creighton, host of Area 45 on Sports Radio 610, your flagship home for the Houston Texans. Enjoy the game this week and go Texans.